My name is Tim and I'm going to share with you the difference prayer made to my journey with cancer. So 2018 I was diagnosed completely out of the blue with stage 3 throat cancer. Never really been ill, never smoked, so it was a shock. I was back then quite an anxious person, so I knew that anxiety and fear would be an issue, so sensibly I set up a group of people to pray for me. And my prayer at the outset was that I would be healed miraculously, or if I wasn't, that the treatment, which was quite intensive chemo and radiotherapy, wouldn't be as bad as they were telling me it was. And I had a real sense when I was praying to God of him replying, "You're okay, I've got you." But unfortunately it didn't say what that looked like, and I was still quite anxious. And actually the story of my journey wasn't an instant miraculous healing. Even more amazing, it was being supported by answered prayer through what was quite a long journey. So it was lots of little stepping stones to the destination of full healing, but not being transported there immediately. I guess I wanted God to helicopter me out of this situation. Instead, he sort of parachuted in and was there with me through the whole journey. I'm an extrovert. Anyone who knows me, I come alive around people, but I was in pretty much isolation, had very little contact with people, other than when I was travelling to and from hospital. I remember two particular incidences. One, when I had my first visit, when I was having lots of exploratory ops to help with the treatment, and I was quite nervous. And the staff nurse on duty that day was a lady who I'd been in life group with and who had not seen me because she got married and moved away from church. So seeing her, getting a hug from her and her praying for me in that moment just took away the anxiety and was just a sign to me that the Father's promised that he would be with me and he'd got my back. That's what that was going to look like. I bumped into a young girl who'd qualified as an oncology nurse who used to be in youth group. I'm a youth leader, and I'd not seen her. She'd moved away, and she was able to pray for me as well. It was just lots of little moments of meeting people who could pray for me. But two particular answers to specific prayers were, one of the issues with throat cancer is you can lose the ability temporarily to swallow, so you can't eat, so you have to have a feeding tube. Now the issue with that is it can affect your ability to swallow long term, so you could be on it permanently, so fed through a feeding tube, and that was one thing I really didn't want. So whenever anyone asked, what can we pray for? Pray that I don't end up with a feeding tube. And every week they would say to me, if you lose another pound this week, I lost about 4 stone in total. If you lose another pound, you'll have to have the feeding tube. Look, we know you don't want it, but you'll have to have it. Every week I would get people praying, and I would get very close to that pound, but never over it. And at the end of the journey, my oncologist, dietitian said to me, "I'm amazed you've not got a feeding tube." I was, "Oh, is it unusual?" She said, "Well, I've been an oncology dietitian for 18 years, thousands of patients. How many do you think have avoided a feeding tube?" I was trying to do the maths, couldn't do. I said, "Oh, a couple of hundred." She went, "2, you and one other," which was miraculous. It wasn't a miraculous healing, but it was clearly a miracle, clearly an answer to prayer. And the other one was infections were really dangerous, and there was one time God kept me free from infection throughout, the journey. But on one occasion, I did get an infection and my temperature was rising, and you have to take your temperature, and if it gets to a certain level, you have to go straight to A&E because it's really dangerous. So Sarah, my wife, was away on a course. I was at home on my own, and my temperature was slowly rising. Literally every hour it would rise half a degree, and it was getting perilously close to me having to go to A&E, and I was quite scared. So I messaged my WhatsApp prayer group, told them what was happening, pray for me, but also can someone take me to A&E if it gets bad? And they were all like, "Great, just let us know, we're praying now." And loads of messages came in, we're praying. So I'm there waiting, and I needed to check my temperature in half an hour. And I fell asleep, and I woke up 8 hours later thinking, oh my life, if my temperature's over, what am I going to do? So I quickly took my temperature, and it had gone back down to normal. And I had a load of voice mails and WhatsApp messages saying, "Are you all right? Do we need to come and get you?" You know, but God had answered my prayer, and I never came anywhere near to getting an infection. And here I am, 5 years late, in remission, completely healed, which was my initial prayer. But such an amazing journey. And the thing about those little stepping stones, with each answered prayer, however small, your faith just soars. So by the end, I was, just sky high in terms of faith. And God was true to his promise, answered each and every prayer, not necessarily in the way that I wanted, but definitely in the way that I needed. I think one other specific thing that I would like to share is that it wasn't just my prayers. I think sometimes when we're in a situation where we need prayer, we rely on our own prayers. You know, but my story reminded me of the paralytic man in the Gospels who couldn't get into Jesus' presence on his own, so was lowered through the roof by his friends. There was definitely a sense in my journey that I was being supported on the back of other people's prayers. So get people around you. If you know people who are intercessors, make friends with them, get them praying for you, because just the prayers of other people can be incredibly powerful.